Good evening, everyone. I first was going to say happy Sabbath, but I realized it's in the evening. So, good evening to everyone. I was thinking just a few minutes ago, trying to put together something to share with you before introducing the song. I was thinking about God's amazing love. And when I thought about God's amazing love, the first person to come to my mind was Jesus, because he came down from heaven to take human flesh and show us that God is not against us, but that he is for us and that he loves us all so dearly. He loved us so much that he was willing to give his son, and Jesus was willing to take up the cross and walk down the way of suffering, which is nowadays called in Jerusalem Via Dolorosa.
Down the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem that day, the soldiers tried to clear the narrow street, but the crowd pressed in to see the man condemned to die on Calvary. From a beating, there were stripes upon his back, and he wore a crown of thorns upon his head, and he bore with every step the scorn of those who cried out for his death. Down the Via Dolorosa, called the way of suffering, like a lamb came the Messiah, Christ the King. But he chose to walk that road out of his love for you and me. Down the Via Dolorosa, all the way to Calvary. Por la Via Dolorosa, triste día en Jerusalén, los soldados le abrían paso a Jesús, mas la gente se acercaba para ver al que llevaba aquella cruz. Por la Via Dolorosa, que es la vía del dolor, como oveja vino Cristo, Rey y Señor, y fue Él quien quiso ir por su amor, por ti, por mí, por la Via
Good evening and a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for coming and braving the elements to come here tonight. We're very glad to see you. Just a few housekeeping arrangements before we begin. The fire exits, should we need them, is one either side of the back of the church, and at the back of the building there's some more fire exits. The toilets are situated in the foyer, and please turn off your mobile phones if you have them with you tonight. Tonight we're here for a charity fundraising concert in aid of Mind. We can look forward to an evening of classical music, and 3 courageous people will be sharing their testimonies of how their lives have been affected by mental health issues. Okay. When someone's broken a leg or they've had an operation, we know what to do to support them and provide practical help. But 1 in 4 people will have a mental health illness at some point in their lives. When they're diagnosed, there is sadly still a stigma attached to it. As a community, we're less informed about mental health illnesses and poorly equipped to help. Tonight, we hope to take you on a journey through music and testimony and inform you how the people affected and their families can be helped. To borrow a quote from Mind, a mental health illness doesn't have to define you. I'm not bipolar, but I do have a bipolar disorder. The programme tonight will continue unannounced. Please refer to your bulletins for further information. And just to be aware, the item Crying for No Reason does contain some flash lighting.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to introduce you to Tim and his journey. Please sit down, Tim.
Thank you.
How do you feel, Tim?
A little bit nervous, to be honest with you. I'm not a very good public speaker, so forgive me.
So, Tim, we want to know your journey, and we'd like to know, how did it all start?
Okay. When I was 18, I had my first experience of a bipolar episode, and it basically started by being in a job that wasn't very satisfying, didn't stimulate me. So, as you do when I'm not, my background isn't with the church, so I started going out with my friends, the pubs and things like that, and living for the weekend. And so we would start off by going out on a Friday night, drinking as much as you can, then going night clubbing. And after a long period of time, with stress building up and the effect alcohol has on you, I started having sort of strange thoughts and becoming argumentative and having sort of grandiose thoughts about myself and thinking I was becoming sort of indestructible and all this
That's
sort of
right.
thing.
And this is when you start to have this fascination about the character of the Matrix.
Yes,
Can you
right.
please tell us more about it?
Absolutely. Basically I watched the film called The Matrix back in 1999, and it was about a character saving the world and from a world of slavery.
Being the new Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Saving the world.
Yeah. So quite big.
And those
issues.
ideas of being indestructible started from then.
Exactly. So
And how did it actually increase? This fascination of being indestructible, and then it took greater proportions, didn't it?
Yeah, I guess it stemmed from thinking to myself, well, is this it? You know what I mean? You've come to a point in your life and you think to yourself, where's my next step? What's my next thing coming from? And it just seemed to spark a lot of energy and a big idea inside me. So I just...
So you had all this power within you, nothing could actually intimidate you.
No.
And would you like to tell us about what happened to you in Spain?
Yeah, exactly. It sort of culminated in a lad's holiday. I went to Magaluf, and I basically got arrested a couple of times, one for a misdemeanor, but the second time I saw a yacht out in the bay, and I thought to myself, right, I want that yacht. So I stripped off naked, ran out across the beach, swam out 200 metres to it, jumped off it, and sort of driving it around the bay. And then I got arrested. And
the Spanish police didn't enjoy.
No, I got locked up, and I was carted around to a few different cells, and went to a mental asylum as well, because I thought I was obviously lost the plot, which I pretty much had. So that was.
And then you were sent back to England.
Yeah, I was on my medical insurance, sort of flown back, and was treated in Ward 12 at Heatherwood Hospital. So yeah.
But then you went to the hospital. They did loads of tests on you, but
yeah, I had CAT scans and all sorts of tests and things like that, and I was misdiagnosed with a type of epilepsy.
Yes, as you said, it took at least 8 years
to get a proper diagnosis.
Your proper diagnosis. Would you like to tell us more about it? How it started? You talked about epilepsy and had until they found the right diagnosis.
Yeah, then I was diagnosed with hypomania, but they couldn't diagnose it properly until I had another episode, and so I was misdiagnosed quite a lot. And then it wasn't until I had other episodes in my life. They seemed to be going in cycles of 3 years, so it seemed to be very systematic. And then, I was finally diagnosed in 2006. And I was a little bit hesitant with it. I didn't like the fact that I was being stigmatised with a mental disorder. So, and especially I was kind of getting by without being medicated. I was having episodes and things like that, but I was kind of hanging on to with dear life sort of thing of getting through them. But then...
So you're given the diagnosis. What are the treatments? Did it say we have a cure for you.
Yeah, basically they've said that we've had people that have responded well with this medication. I think we recommend it for you because we've identified that this is the problem. And so I take antipsychotics and mood stabilizers now, and it's been able to really, really make a massive difference in my life, where I'm able to function normally in society and have a job and not flip out, basically.
But the diagnosis that they give you, you told me there were two types.
Yes, there's one type of bipolar disorder. Type 1 is where you're up and down constantly from week to week, and you just have multiple episodes. And type 2 is where you have long periods of calm, and that's the one I have. So I have a massive episode. I go up, go manic, then go down and have a depressive thing for about 3 or 4 months, and then I have normality for until the next one, which is, like I said, it was in periods of like 3 years. So, yeah.
But then, did it take a bit of time to adjust to the medication? They had to constantly.
No, it didn't. It didn't really. I like I said, when I first took it, I was very hesitant with it because of the stigma attached to it, and I didn't like the fact that I know I'm taking medication now and all that type of thing. But I think when you come to terms with it and you've realised that you actually need it, and if you do it, you'll be able to do the nice things in life, like go out and have a normal relationship, and to cause stress for your parents, and you can have a job and progress in life.
But then instead of having therapy, they give you occupational
therapy. Yeah. So I think in a way it's they keep an eye on you, just make sure you're doing the right things, keeping your thoughts on track and things like that, which is a really was a massive help. I've also put in what do they call it? A prevention where it's a plan basically, and you put it in place with your GP and a crisis team. So I have a plan where I have a set amount of money put aside. If I need to have a break from my job or something like that, I'm able to take time off work, and that again, having a plan in place for if you do become unwell, that again helps you and takes the stress of it, because you think to yourself, I'm going to slip back into it, but if you plan for it, plan for the worst and hope for the best sort of thing, and then it's sort of, and now I've sort of broken that 3-year cycle now, so it's been helping me.
And now everything's managed. And also for your work, you're working now.
Yes, I'm a estate agent at the moment, Chancellor's estate agent in Bracknell.
And how do you see your future now?
Really positive. As long as I, don't drink to excess and take my medication, just, don't worry about things too much, and I think I'll be okay, really.
Yes. And lastly, I'd like to ask you, what would you like to say to our members of the community?
It's really great to be able to talk to you guys, and I think it's a really, really important thing to talk about mental health. I think there's a big barrier put up, or people put barriers up with mental health, and I think it's important to talk about it, to help bring those down, and we can all work together to help each other, and because it is an issue that it can become, you can overcome it, and with time and the right medication and things. So I think it's really good.
Tim, thank you very much
for
coming. Thank you.
say thanks for the things you have done for me, things so undeserved, yet you gave to prove your love for me. The voices of a million angels could not express my gratitude. All that I am and ever hope to be, I owe it all to thee. To God be the glory, to God be the glory, to God be the glory for the things He has done. With His blood He has saved me.
Everybody, let me introduce you to Leroy, or shall I call you the king? Because Leroy in French means le roi, the king. Leroy, tell us about your journey and how did it all begin?
Wow, where do I start? I'd like to start with a quote. I'm a really well-read person, so...
we don't doubt you.
Yes, reasonable men adapt to the world around them. Unreasonable men make the world adapt to them. The world is changed by unreasonable men. Edwin Lewis Cole. My home church in High Wycombe thought I was an unreasonable teenager when they disfellowshipped my sister. My big brother was at the business meeting and told me what happened and how he and the elder, Brother Jack, had stood up to the church. I said, well, I know they made the wrong decision. My sister had confided in me what really happened and that I would teach the church a lesson. You know, fast forward 10 years, because it's just such a long story, I don't want to carry it on. I married on the 1st of January 1989, and again the church thought I was being unreasonable because I didn't tell anyone my plans until the last minute. But I had confided in the elder, Brother Jack, what my plans were and how I was going to teach the church a lesson. He agreed with me and said he would stand by me. When the church found out that I was getting married within 4 weeks, they thought I had made a mistake, you know. But the minister who baptized me and about to marry me knew we had set the date nearly a year in advance. So when somebody got up in the church to object to us marrying, the minister carried on with the marriage and it went ahead. The church then proceeded to prove a case against me and abuse my trust. They broke into my house, I lost my job, my company car, my marriage broke up. And then the church accused me of so many things. I decided the best thing to do, just keep silent. Let them wear themselves out, because I knew I was innocent. And because of that, most of the leaders thought I was guilty. So they disfellowshipped my wife. And at the business meeting, when they brought the case to the church, again I disagreed with them, and I voted against the whole church. Then the church held a board meeting and agreed that I was not fit to hold office. The minister at the time came and told me that I was not fit to hold office. And I said to them, well, I think you're going against the constitution of the church, and that with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And the stress of the whole situation, thinking that the whole church was against me, you know, and conspire against me, is what triggered my mental illness.
That's right. What you're saying, you know,
yeah.
It all starts with
Yeah.
a stress
Yes.
of something.
Yes.
And then...
Yeah. Yeah, and to make matters worse, once I became ill, they accused me of being demon-possessed. And so in their eyes, they had proven the case against me. But Brother Jack, who was the elder at the time, he said to me, he says, Leroy, hold fast the things that remain, of a text in Revelation. And the only thing that remained, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't read, I couldn't pray. You know, all of those things were gone. The only thing that remained was that God loved me.
And how did you manage your symptoms? It started
Right.
to...
Well, I was
escalate.
hospitalised for a whole year.
Yes.
Let's have a look, yeah. When I was in hospital, I was basically comatose, just knocked out really, because I hadn't slept in days and things like that. And I was having delusions and seeing and hearing things. But I got through that stage, and I moved back to Bracknell. I lived in Great Hollands, and I became reacquainted with Hugh Dunton, who knew me before I got ill, because I lived in Bracknell before. And he really encouraged me, because he said to me, I'm praying for you. He used to lead a prayer meeting, and he says, I'm praying for you. he knew what happened. And I said to him, it was my faith in God that brought me back to Newbold and that sustained me. We once joked, actually, that the church in High Wycombe had some big fish, but they fossilised. I told him I would go back one day and teach all the young people the truth and come back. Hugh Dunton was the wisest and intelligent, most humble man I'd ever met. And I told him that Brother Jack, the elder, was the bravest and strongest and most principled man I'd ever met. And that I was going back to help a black man, encourage a black man who helped me carry my cross. The reason I say that is because I was diagnosed with manic psychosis, and the most extreme case is that I believe I'm the Son of God.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And you were given a set of medication and also
I was.
therapy.
Yes. I was on medication I was diagnosed in 1992. I was on medication for about 15 years. And my body got used to it, and it was an older medication. And they felt that there were new medications that would help control my thoughts, because I was getting paranoid, I was getting thoughts in my head and things like that. So it was, over the years, things have improved. During that period, I was with a psychiatrist, obviously, for at least 10 years.
The good news.
And there is good news, because on the 12th, in a few days' time,
right.
I will be discharged from my psychiatrist, because he feels I'm well enough to be just with my doctor.
Well done.
At the moment. So, yes. How I managed was, I meditate on the scriptures. I've read the scriptures 20 times, plus the New Testament 10 times, in 15 different translations. So when I say I'm well read, I'm well read. I've read also very
Ellen
widely
White.
of Ellen
Exactly.
White.
And your favourite book?
And my favourite book is The Desire of Ages, which I've read 7 times. And I find that not only do they have the power to transform character if you obey them, but it really strengthens my mind. I used to play badminton, swimming, and do martial arts, which really helped me at the beginning, because the doctor said if I hadn't been so fit, I may not have survived my illness. I really suffered, and I was comatose. But now I just manage to walk. I do some swimming, but I've lost motivation. You lose some motivation. I don't know.
But you're working as well.
Yes, I do work as well, yes. But one of the main side effects of the medication is that it makes you lethargic and you weight gain. I was skinny as a rake, but one thing that really helped me was Pastor Henderson's wife. She told me one day, just before she left the country, she says, Leroy, just take one day at a time, and you'll spiral upwards until your case reaches the general conference. And I said, oh, okay, and that advice really gave me hope, and it became my philosophy of life, because I love the song, One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus, that's all I'm asking from you.
Yes. And how do people respond to you now?
Well, in the beginning, people like Joy Beardsell, some of you who've been here many years will remember her. She said to me one day, read The Desire of Ages and look at the face of Jesus. And I thought, I'll try. And since then, I've read it 7 times. And then Linda Belden, I don't know if she'll remember this, but I used to I was doing research on the chronology of the Bible, and she gave me access to some really rare books and documents and said, you're the only young man I'll give access to these things. And I thought, well, that's nice, And then Mike Pearson's Sabbath school class really made me feel welcome. And there's grown between us a mutual respect for what they've done for me and my contribution to the class. And I've sat in many classes, I sat here in different classes, but I've found Mike's to be the best. That's my opinion, but I've found, they say if you find 8 good friends in a church, you'll stay in the church, and I've grown to love them all, and I just wish they had known me before I got ill, I was really radical, And if you really want to see me in my element, just come to Mike Pearson's class and hear us discuss.
And also the Mitchell, you wanted to talk?
Yes, okay. Yeah, I would like how I would like people to treat me, yes.
Yes, we wanted to find out,
Yeah.
what does the future, how do you
Yeah.
want other people to respond to you?
Yes. I would like them to love and respect me the way I love and respect them. You know, couples like Brian and Dorothy Pillmore, Colin and Clemency Mitchell, Cyril and Monica Vesey. I'm sure you all know these couples, and the late Myrna. You know, I think over the years I've earned their respect, and I really admire their longevity of life and love. And only God knows the sacrifice I made in my personal life to stand up for my faith in God and my love for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I really mean that. I love the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I have no regrets, and I would stand up for my faith again. But this time I would hope that those who know my heart would stand up with me.
And what is the future holds for you?
It's not good that man should be alone. I would like to find love, be loved again. I love my mother.
Single ladies here?
I love my mum who gave me life, and my aunt who brought me to faith as a Seventh-day Adventist. They were both kings before and after they got married. So I'm the king of kings that way as well.
And maybe
so you can
your
understand.
sister?
And my sister, yes. I would like her to come back to church, which is why I still keep my faith and visit her. And both my mum and my aunt told me before they died that they're praying for me and that I would meet someone special who really appreciates me for who I am, just the way I am. They said to me, never change, Leroy. I'm happy with who I am. I'm comfortable in my own skin. There have been some great men in my life, but also some great mothers in Israel. I really hope one day that the church will have the courage to ordain the women I love in the ministry, because I know that without them, I would not be alive today. I thank God for praying mothers.
I'll say amen to that.
Yes.
Leroy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
this on? Wasn't that fantastic? Absolutely brilliant. We've got so much talent here. We've actually got a little clip for you. I'm going to do a little bit more talking. I want to congratulate everyone that's come up today and performed and told their story. We've got so much talent at Newbold, and it's so great to see them show the case their abilities for everyone to appreciate. And I think it's very important for mental health is to do what you're good at. You see in the programs, it says on your program, you should try and do something you're good at and be, push for that, because people want to see you do your best, and I think it's important for us to do that. Well, it's my chance to tell a story. Now, Tim had a great story. I must admit, I like Matrix, the movie, as well. I can relate to it. Maybe some of you are not of the age where you've watched Matrix, but it's all about a kind of Christian message where this man was trying to get people out of thinking one way and saying, there's another way of seeing things. And it's an interesting message, and it has some Christian connotations to it. So obviously he may have thoughts which weren't realistic. I can understand it's an interesting storyline. And Leroy, we're all sons and daughters of God. Sometimes you can always have this impression of yourself which you might think is real, but it's not the case, and people appreciate you anyway. My story is, I'm trying to keep it short. When I actually wrote this story, I wrote 16 pages. I was in the Alps in France going snowboarding, and I had a beautiful view out there, and I was writing my life story, a biography, and I was thinking of all the different things year by year of how my life came, to its, it has ups and downs, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but I'm going to keep it short. I know you've been here for a little while now, and you've had a great time, so I want to just share a little bit about my experience. Okay, so I have this confession to make to you. I am a little bit obsessed with thoughts of the end of the world. Now, this isn't a completely out of the blue thought. We all, as Adventists, most of us here, believe in the second coming of Christ, and that's something we all accept and embrace. As a child, I would go to school, year 8. This is when I was 13, 14, and in my lunch break, I'd crack open my Bible and tell all my friends about the second coming of Christ. I'd read through Matthew 24, and I'd share with them how Jesus was coming again. And, it was great, harmless, But when I kind of got older, my obsession with church and spirituality became quite overbearing. I used to go to church services, and I'd lead out not lead out, but I'd help programs, but I wouldn't be able to get on with my normal life. I'd just go to the programs, feel God's presence, His Spirit in what I did and stuff like that, but I couldn't get my assignments done. I couldn't hand in papers, and I couldn't do the things that everybody else around me was going on. I mean, my cousins and various people were moving on with their lives, becoming doctors, lawyers, and actuaries, and all this really exciting stuff. And I was kind of dabbling with theology, but not really getting it done. And it really got me down, because I felt that God had something in me to share with the rest of the world. And I wasn't being in the right zone to become a pastor and save people, as they say, or so it wasn't matching up. So I went to see psychiatrists, and they were saying, you're just getting stressed, you need to calm down, maybe you should, take some medication and just start living a bit more methodically, not staying up late, maybe not listening to rap music like I used to like to listen to rap music, just stuff like that. So I quit theology. I studied theology at Newbold for a little while. I realized that I wasn't going to get my assignments done. I couldn't learn Greek. It was far too difficult. And I started biochemistry, a degree of science. Science you can touch, you can feel, you can test, and it's a bit less, in the spirit or at the moment, it was a little less, I could relate to it because I wanted to become a doctor at one stage in my life, and biochemistry was going that direction, becoming, something useful for society and not so airy-fairy. And so I thought maybe this is what I'd do. But I'd finished my degree, actually. I didn't do too well because I was still on medication. I wasn't becoming a doctor, that's for sure. But I went back to theology. I couldn't escape it. And I still had thoughts to do with Jesus' second coming, and I had the burning feeling that God had something for me that would he like to share with other people. But I wasn't sure what that was. So I studied in biblical theology with some lecturers here, Jan Banner and who's the other guy? He's retired now. What's that, sorry? Gunnar Pedersen, that's right. He helped me with my assignment. He actually stayed up. He got up early in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and read through my assignment and wrote a long response to it. And basically what the assignment was about was the book of Job. What do you do with suffering? And this is very related to what we were talking about tonight with mental health, is why do people go through so much pain psychologically and physically? And the story of Job is very great, and I wanted to make a movie out of it eventually. But, he starts out very wealthy and very rich, and then he goes through a period of extreme pain and suffering. And then it happens to his family, his wealth, his welfare, and then to himself, the suffering. And what I realized, this pattern is a pattern which we all go through. We can all relate to Job. And Job is what we go through. It's the mental health that we experience. 1 in 4 of us all will experience mental health problems in a space of a year. And there's not just mental health problems, there's physical health problems. I was going to mention before the flashing lights in the video that anyone with epilepsy should move, but we mentioned it at the beginning. But there's health problems, there's physical health problems. So when I wrote my assignment, I thought to myself, what picture of God is this? What does God want for us? And this got me thinking about God's creation. He said, because, when you look at the book of Job, you think, yes, he went through hardship, but what is God's response to it? And his response was that, look at the creation, look at what I've created. Who are you to question me? And I thought, that's good. I'll look at the creation. And what I saw was a bit of good and a bit of bad, always light and darkness. And my grandfather has a lot of theories about light and darkness and genetics and all this. It's very interesting. You can ask my relatives. They know all about it. He brings it up on every family occasion. But it led me to think about creation. And I thought, maybe God created this world for this purpose, to mature ourselves, to develop abilities to overcome hardship and to go through suffering and to become better people so that maybe we can actually trust God and not take the apple next time. Next time the opportunity comes for us to disobey, we might obey because we've learned from our experiences in life. And this got me thinking about maturation theory, my grandfather's theory. My roommate was a bit of geek as well. He had frequencies in the Bible, with the rise and fall of kingdoms and nations, and he believed that in the cycle it will end in 30 years' time or something. And this played into my ideas of the end of the world. And I thought with maturation theory, genetics, frequency, and all this was going to cause the end of the world. Now, I thought, that's fair enough, I couldn't carry on with theology because there were some fundamental disagreements with the the idea of suffering and Christianity. I kind of got loggerheads with the lecturers, and we agreed that, I kind of decided not to carry on with theology. But before that happened, I was typing on Facebook to my friends in America. I had quite a few friends, and this is the great thing about Newbold. You meet so many international people. And I was telling them about maturation theory, frequency theories, and say, you should study theology. And I was listening to music on Spotify at the time, and over the music, I get this message: you are a powerful leader of an organization. Now, you can laugh now. We will bring you to justice. And I was freaked out by this. I really was. I didn't see myself as a powerful leader. I didn't think, that was something that I'd do or whatever. But, I got freaked out by it. And I told Patrick the next morning. He'll tell you, if you ask him, he'll say, yeah, he came. He got really, I got really upset by that. And then I got paranoid, like the Beautiful Mind movie. This Victoria's waving to me. It's very off-putting. Like the movie, get paranoid. Maybe the government is trying to get me. The paranoia of helicopters when they're coming over. So this is a traffic zone for helicopters for some reason. They're always coming over Binfield. And once actually it hovered above my house. And while I was in the gardening and I was talking to my friend with the frequency theory thing, and we were standing there and it was hovering up there, and I got freaked out. I really was. And then I went to America, and this is an interesting story because this part, I even till now, I don't know the truth about it. But I went to a health camp because my parents thought I was very sick, which I was. I had lots of ideas that, besides the maturation and all that, I was very unbalanced because all these different things were making my mind spin. And so I went to America to this camp with Dr. Nedley. He's a very famous American doctor. He works with Hollywood and does conferences around the world and things like that. And we had a camp, and just to give you an example of who turns up at this camp, there was this girl that was addicted to medication. She takes heroin, and she was trying to get off heroin, so she took medication, and then she got addicted to the medication. So she was there, but she came from a very rich family. Her parents were jewelers, restaurant owners, shopping center owners, and stuff like that. And her parents had private jets, and her auntie owned 150 dental clinics around the US and would fly in between them and stuff like that. So she was very upper class, and I kind of, not upper class, in America they don't have the class system, I understand that, but it was a strange experience for me. I was meeting these new people, and there was this one guy who worked for Qantas, and he was helping out with the camp. Apparently he had been there the year before, and he was helping out, and he took me for a walk one day, and we're similar athletics, so sometimes we'd go running and stuff like that. And then he told me, I used to work for the Pentagon and as a advisor to the White House. And I was like, all right, okay, right. And he told a bit about his military history, and it kind of confused me. I was like, whoa, I had this thing on Spotify a few months before, and now I'm being approached by this guy who's said he's working for the Pentagon or the White House, stuff like that. And later on, he came to the second half of the camp, and that was just the three of us, me and this girl that I met that I told you about just now, and on him. And we were at this second health camp. And then he asked me for Bible studies, and it got really strenuous for me to think about these ideas. And I turned him down when he asked me for a Bible study. I said, no, I can't handle it. So I came back to England, and my paranoia continued. I got into climate change, renewable energy company. My brother has little understanding of renewable energies, and I got kind of into that. And then I realized climate change could have an impact on all my different theories, and I thought, well, maybe there's a correlation. And then I thought to myself, if I became famous, then I could share this with the world. And so I thought, there's a mental health Reading football team coaches are coming to the mental health club to coach and just support the people that are suffering from mental health. If I get in there, I could become a footballer. So I trained really, really hard, and I got quite good at football, which is an upside. But on the downside, I never really had a chance. So, I did play a lot, and they were impressed with my football, but it wasn't that great. I actually wanted to swim in the Olympics. This is one thing that the doctors would ask me and check. Do you want to swim in the Olympics? Yes. All right, stay in the hospital. Do you want to swim in the Olympics? Yes. Stay in the hospital. It was really a strange thing. I had all this energy and all this desire to perform and become something great. Anyway, so I was hospitalized and I was on medication. They took me out of hospital once I'd calmed down a bit. And then I worked for various companies, a waiter at a hotel, and then a wealth management company. I was doing some admin work. I kind of cut my medication after I was just feeling too tired, and then I went back to the same thoughts again, got hospitalized, got a little violin, took me away, the police took me away. It was crazy. And I was back in hospital, and this time I met a guy who said to me, "You got a lot to still offer, Eric." And he suffered from schizophrenia as well. He was at Oxford, he got a PhD from Oxford, and he taught there at Oxford, and he was a pharmaceutical writer or something like that. And he believed in the crash that God had spoke to him and said to him, "Move your money into 2 accounts so they can't take additional money off your accounts in the crash," because apparently that's what they were doing to bank accounts. And so he split them, and ever since then he's had divine followings. So he would think that he must phone this person or do this or do that. Anyway, we talked, and I realized he was a little unstable. But he had some good things to offer me, and he said, maybe you should get a master's in environmental science, because that's what you did in your dissertation in biochemistry, and you have that interest in renewable energies and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what I'm doing now. So a year later, I worked for a Fortune 500 #1 company in a multinational company for a year, dealing with their archiving, which is basically dealing with sensitive data destruction. Often oil refineries that are built have to keep their calculations for a certain number of years before they can be destroyed and taken to be destroyed. So I had to email directors and go and see them sometimes with the boxes that they particularly want to look at. And I got the chance to work with the legal team, the one in Europe and the one in, I didn't go fly out, but I emailed them and went upstairs to their offices. And it was just a good experience. I got to be normal again, and I felt contributing. And now I had this master's on the horizon, and now I'm doing this master's in environmental science, and my dissertation is with ADRA, Adventist Development Relief Agency. They work on projects around the world, including the Philippines. They were out there. I might study that as one of my case studies in my dissertation. I can kind of see a pattern emerging. I still feel moved by the Spirit. I still believe in maturation theory and all these different frequencies things, and end of the world, yes, it's still plausible, but my crazy instincts to get myself known by playing for Reading Football Club, or my crazy instincts to, swim in the Olympics, they're, a little bit off the wall, and I've recognized that, and I'm not going to let that conquer me again. I'm going to be stronger psychologically and say, there's certain things that you know you never will be able to do, but there's certain things you can do. And helping with ADRA or in the future, or maybe going into renewable energies is still a possibility. But with the support I've had from my friends, and I want to thank you, especially to James, he's here, and there's Ray, Moses, Ashley, there's so many to Mark and Saskia, she's not here. Oh yeah, she's, and some other people. And you know, it's just been really good support that I've felt from the church. Sometimes they did view me a little bit nuts, and sometimes I value that, and I think, well, it's good to have criticism and, you know, a bit more. But it was a journey, and I share this journey with you because I feel that everybody has challenges they face, and realistic or unrealistic thoughts, and to manage them, you have to know how to depend on one another for support and for rational thinking and dialoguing with one another. And you know, sometimes people may not need medication, but they may need that friend to tell them, you know that this might not be for you, or this is for you, or you know, listening to those voices that are actually real and next to you, telling you, you know, to move forward in a right. So I'm grateful for the man in the hospital. I'm grateful to my friends here for being so honest about their sickness. You know, maybe they're not as crazy as me, or maybe they're more crazy. And yeah, you never know. We're all a little bit nuts. But I want to thank you for the bravery of the musicians. They didn't know what we were going to say tonight, and they came along and they did their best. And I really thank the whole college and just for being patient in this difficult time. And I don't know what my main message is if you do suffer from mental health issues and you do face challenges, do talk to someone that can actually help you. Go and see them and confide in them. And if you need to see a professional, go and see the professional, because they can give you medication. And it might not be the answer, but it might just help you calm your nerves a little bit. They'll be out there watching how you perform and how you respond. And there's a lot of help out there. And I've felt, I don't know if my carers here from mental health, I've been seeing psychiatrists for 10 years, and I have a particular carer that looks after me at the moment. His name's Eric as well, which is great. We have something in common. And yeah, he really supports me, and you know, he gives me my injection every 2 weeks, and I feel comfortable with talking to him. I think everybody needs that friend. So I want to thank you for coming, and we've got a couple of items. They're just short items, but we've got a saxophonist that came in the last moment. He can't speak English, but he's a very nice lad, and you'll see him later. But yeah, thank you for coming, and enjoy the rest of the program. Where do you want it?
I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for coming, to our musicians for giving of their time and talents, to Tim, Eric and Leroy for telling their story, and for the people working hard behind the scenes tonight to make tonight such a terrific success. And I want to say a special thank you to Eric for putting this programme together. Give him a round of applause. We wish you a safe journey home. I know it's late, but if you have time, there are refreshments in the foyer for you. Good night.